Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aries energy. And we're going to get out the cards and then we're going to read the story from kind of a couple different perspectives because people are at different emotional maturity levels in their Aries energy. High vibe Aries is learning lessons in life and becoming the emperor in your own life, where realizing your heart, your mind, your worldly nature, your creative passion nature are all equally important because they're all a part of us. But some people could decide any one, two, or three of those things just aren't that important. They're not really going to invest in them much, in those aspects within themselves. And then when they don't think those aspects within themselves are very important, they kind of don't want to invest in other people who might think those things are important. Aries energy is about the self. Some people never got out of being more consumed with being about themselves. And, that can be quite entitled or lazy or want reward without effort. Some people don't even harness their Aries energy in a high vibe way, where it's like not inspired within themselves, and shadowy energy at large can just be kind of looking outside yourself for something to be the answer instead of being inspired within yourself to kind of do some inner work to grow or heal or mature yourself. Could be more fired up about the world, the things they want to go indulge in or make their life about other than love. So those are kind of the things we're going to talk about. And depending on how you harness your Aries energy is probably going to determine what kind of people you want to hang out with. And like I say, some people got out of their being more consumed about themselves and indulging their more immature nature, and they did temper their ego nature and kind of grow up and mature themselves, and they're kind of looking to get in relationships with other people who have learned some of the same lessons they have. Also getting some cards out of the Cost of Becoming deck, and Aries got the quiet got louder than your excuses. So we start out with, well, let's look at the end of the story first. Some people can have regrets about the past, is what the Five of Cups can talk about. Well, we've all had things not work out in our life. Sometimes we contributed to those relationships not working out so well. Sometimes other people in our life contributed to those relationships not working out very well. And some people are still defensive and kind of in their ego about it. Just haven't healed, could be. But some, they were the ones who contributed to those relationships not working out. The truth sets us free. And the hangman in high vibe is kind of looking at life from a different perspective, kind of expanding our perception of ourselves and the world around us, and probably maybe what we think is just and fair. At the heart of the reading, since we had this amount of cards come out, is the Pisces card, like the hangman, about what we think is just and fair. And sometimes people, shadowy hangman can be that people are kind of more defensive to looking at life from any other perspective or anyone else's perspective. So let's kind of work at it from that perspective. We've all been more immature, right? And we've all dealt with more immature people. So the Six of Cups can talk about the past, and the Ten of Cups can be our friend group, our family group, people we've known in our life. And in the Three of Wands, we thought our dream was going to come into reality in those different friendships and relationships and love relationships that we've been in, and some of them even with our own family. And in the Six of Swords, we could have moved forward in something, because in the Magician, we thought we were all on the same page, that we were going to manifest this dream into reality. And we could have all thought that everyone had worked through some of their issues from the past, or being more about themselves, or more self-indulgent, harnessing those energies in a more shadowy way. and that everyone would look at life from a higher perspective in high vibe Aquarius energy, and that everyone would become independent of being more about themselves, more self-indulgent, repeating poor past patterns. But we might not have been seeing the truth. We could have been caught up in the illusion of some people in our life. And then as we move forward with them in relationships, we were buying into the illusion of who those people were. And for some, we were caught up in the illusion of who we thought we were. And, you know, again, we could have this illusion, shadowy Pisces can kind of being caught up in the illusion of ourself, of others, of the world, thinking, you know, this illusion that everyone is motivated and inspired by the same truth and what they think is just and fair in their Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. So we move forward in those relationships, and we kind of think everyone has learned some of these lessons in life. In high vibe, the King of Pentacles, which I view as Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorns represented by the devil. So we think everyone has learned some of these lessons in life, that it's about equal give and take in the Six of Pentacles, and that everyone will have good boundaries to their more indulging their more immature nature or self-indulgent nature, or maybe being more bossy or controlling or something. And we keep defending it, thinking there will be equal give and take. And with some people in our life, that's true. We all do have more hope and faith. We have learned lessons in the past. We have become independent of some more immature, shadowy ways of being. And we are invested in working together in a just and fair way. And, you know, with those people, we kind of keep moving forward in friendship and relationship. But there can come a time with some of the other people, the Nine of Wands can be that we could start to feel a little defensive of continuing to move forward with some of the other people. We might feel like in our Capricorn and our Taurus energy, Capricorn can be what we view as victorious and successful, and Taurus can be this way of viewing life, our philosophy of life, and why we want to be in friendship and relationship and get in jobs, and why employers hire people. You know, you kind of meet people, you like them, you think, yep, this person's going to work out, I'm going to be their friend, I'm going to date them, I'm going to employ them, they're going to come work for us, or I'm going to go work there. And things can move along with a lot of the people, and it works out okay. It's just with some of the people, as some time goes by, and we're trying to move things forward, because before the Nine of Wands is the Eight of Wands, where in between the Three of Wands and the Eight of Wands is the Five of Wands. We've had this new beginning. We kind of think we're motivated and inspired by the same truth. The Pentacle can be about what our truth is, and the King of Swords can be about what our truth is, male or female. But then with some of the people, again, we could be trying to move it forward in a more just and fair and balanced way. And the other people could kind of be defensive. They want to move forward, but they could be kind of defensive of, you know, they have their own truth and their own philosophy of life. And then we have this energy that, you know, we could feel like people don't really work together with us more cooperatively from love. And we could feel like they kind of use their emotions more manipulatively, and that they're defensive to love and maybe defensive of trying to see things from other people's perspective. And so that's when some people, you know, have to really kind of think about, do I want to keep investing in some of these people in my life and continue to move forward with them? because I've probably already had this experience with them. Some of it could have been good, some of it could have been not so good. And then we could kind of realize maybe we harness our Pisces energy different. You know, our idea of the dream life, and the Three of Wands and Aries energy can be about what our dreams. I'm taking action to bring this dream into reality. And Aquarius can be about, I have this dream, let's move forward. We have the same idea, right? The same truth. Let's move forward. And then Pisces also can be about our dreams. Aries and fire sign energy, I'm motivated and inspired. But is our truth the same of how we want to move forward in life, our idea of the dream life? Some people could live Aquarius and Libra. They could like to live more from their mind than their heart, which can be kind of a little bit more of a self-protective energy. I view the King of Swords can be a person's self-protective, defensive nature, which then, like I say, the Hangman. Oh, I think I said it. The Hangman in shadow can kind of be a little stubborn, kind of unwilling to look at life from any other perspective or other people's perspective. So a little bit, it can be ego in a shadowy energy. And the Seven of Wands is Leo energy, which is about our more egoic nature, our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And we could realize that some people, they are kind of more defensive to love. Like to be in relationships, want to be in relationships, might want to get married, did get married, might want to get married again. Might like to be in friendship and relationship with people. But, shadowy energy, if you haven't kind of healed maybe from some past pain and heartbreak and fears and insecurities and stuff, you could try to create an illusion that that you're more just, fair, stable, balanced, mature, loving, that you've learned some of the same lessons that some other people have learned in life. But for some people in shadowy Pisces, it's more an illusion that they're creating. Anybody can be more about themselves. Anybody can. I have these certain ways. The Six of Cups can talk about repeating a pattern of the past. I like to live life like this. But, they might not tell other people that. I have this way of living life. I have my idea of the dream life, and it's doing it this way. Well, if you're really to work together with people cooperatively, you have your idea of the dream life, they have their idea of the dream life. And if you're going to work together to bring a dream life in together, everybody has to be willing to compromise. And some people could be a little more defensive to being willing to compromise. No, I like this. Let's do it like this. But instead of kind of seeing the truth of it, why could they maybe be so more their way or the highway? Instead of kind of working through that, or maybe had other relationships where people became defensive to them, or workplaces or whatever, that didn't want to keep being in friendship or relationship because eventually the other people kind of see through the illusion of who they are. But that was their idea. I want to have friendships, relationships, be married, get married, have a job. I know, I have an idea. I am not going to work through my mental conflict about some issues in my life that have happened already. Nope, I'm going to be defensive to being enlightened to the truth. I have an idea. I'm going to go out there again and, I'm going to hide from the truth. Don't want to see the truth. Don't want to do the inner work to heal and grow and mature myself. I'm just going to go back out there again and create this illusion. Maybe try to manipulate people and confuse people about the truth of why some other job, friendship, or relationship didn't work out. And I'm going to create this illusion, which, you know, they could view themselves as very just, fair, stable, grounded, smart, intelligent, good employee, whatever the situation is. They could view themselves that way. Shadowy energy is wanting to stay in denial of the truth caught up in the illusion. You know, like believe your own story you tell yourself. and and some of these people, even though they could be kind of stubborn or egoic or materialistic or stubborn, or, you know, they can still be people, some of them, who in a lot of ways, um, again, can like being in friendship and relationships. But again, could be a little bit full of themselves, possibly, some of them, and they don't kind of realize that. Or maybe because in the Nine of Pentacles and the King of Swords and the King of Pentacles, male or female, they could feel, I look a certain way, I have a certain status or image, I have a certain amount of money, I whatever, you know, kind of more these things of the world that they have. And so then we kind of need to pause there for a minute, that shadowy energy of the big picture is kind of represented by the devil. You know, high vibe energy of the big picture kind of represented by God. Which one do you more align with? You're being more about yourself and caught up in yourself and these things of the world, and that's what you value, and that's what you think is most important about you, kind of. Or are you more, you could have all those same things that some of the shadowy people have. You could be attractive, charming, loving, just, fair, balanced, money, status, image. But the high vibe people know that the most important thing they bring to a workplace, a friendship, or a relationship is that they harness these energies in a more high vibe way. That they've gone through their life experiences, but they did do the inner work. They did see between the Six of Swords, the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords. Things that maybe conflicted with their truth. Um, you know, again, we are in friendships and relationships with different people. We kind of have different dreams. We have different things we want to invest in. Our idea of the dream life, things and people and activities that we like to do versus what other people like to do, you know. And we've made our own mistakes being more self-indulgent and immature when we were young, right? Some of the other people learn lessons from that life experience. They could have repeated some poor past patterns, because we'll all keep repeating patterns until we're willing to deal with the truth. Harnessing high vibe Libra and high vibe Capricorn. We free ourselves by offering ourselves love to kind of stand up to our more immature, fearful, past pain and heartbreak self, to work through that, to see the truth about it, to decide to stand up for our more loving nature. And I need to grow up and mature myself. I got to quit acting more immature, or quit getting in certain types of relationships, and see the truth about the different type of people I've been drawn and attracted to, what's not good for me, what is good for me, learn to love myself, believe in myself, all that good stuff. So when those kind of people move forward in life, you know, they really are, they've learned these lessons. Oh, if I want to be in a friendship or relationship with people, I need to see the truth. It's not all about me. And they probably kind of gave up that kind of way of thinking a long time ago. It's just that some people didn't, right? And yes, they might be single, but that doesn't mean they should just go indulge themselves in a relationship to feel better. And they probably also learned, oops, got an alarm on my phone, that if I go indulge in these certain ways of being or vices in a way that isn't more balanced and in alignment with my truth and how I want to move forward, that could drive my life off into the ditch. So I've kind of tempered myself where, you know, the things of the world can be meant to be enjoyed, but high vibe Libra in moderation. Kind of stay between the bumper guards of life as I'm going down the road. And there's other people that haven't learned that lesson, you know, and they try to move forward, but then, you know, when things get challenging or difficult, then they could decide, I want to go feel better. And they get more tempted in their more worldly, shadowy nature that tells them, you should go do this and you should go do that. You should act like this, behave like this. We think that's just and fair. And they kind of give in to that nature within themselves, you know, and You know, other people have done that enough times in their life that it's like, no. If I go repeat some of those old patterns or ways of being, I'm going to end up back where I was. I've seen the truth of that, you know? If I do this and this, it results in this. And I want that. So I need to stand up to my more shadowy nature that tempts me to be more self-indulgent and more about myself and self-protective and hide from the truth and not be just and fair and go indulge myself in some things to feel better. Well, again, people have already done that, and it's kind of like giving in to the devil. And when you kind of indulge yourself in your shadow nature and don't invest in truth and love and having kind of good boundaries within yourself, you could drive your life off into the ditch and create some hell on earth. But you could stay in the illusion it's just and fair for quite a long time, and some people never get out of it. Some people have already been there, done that, and they've learned, no, I gotta be less tempted by my self-indulgent nature, and then I also need to stand up for, that high vibe Capricorn, not being about the devil. I have put in this work and effort to be more balanced within myself, to like love myself, believe in myself, know my worth and value, my job, my career, my family, my friends. I need to stand up for myself against my own shadow nature and other people in my life that would like to be in friendship or relationship with me, but they kind of want me to repeat that old pattern. And it's like, but I've already been there. And if I know your truth is that you kind of like to repeat those old patterns, you could maybe be codependent on a friend group, a family group, in a relationship with someone else, more about yourself, full of yourself, just want to indulge yourself in relationships or have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, might try to manipulate people, uh, control people, try to tell people this makes logical, practical sense. We should be friends. You should date me. You should marry me. And it's like, I've already been in relationships with people who are caught up in the illusion of themselves, more about themselves, the world. We should be in a relationship because don't we want to be in a relationship? Isn't that part of people's dream idea of the dream life? That would be a good reason. We should get in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship. We get along well enough. This makes practical, logical sense. And the high vibe people are like, yeah, I've been in relationships with people like that before. And I thought everybody was kind of motivated and inspired by love. And I found out they weren't. That really wasn't the driving factor. It was more like, I don't like being single. I want to be in a relationship or a marriage. I want to exchange resources with people, is what the Six of Pentacles can be. I like being in a relationship. Oh, but by the way, I'm defensive. To really being more just and fair and authentic and do equal give and take in the relationship. How about you be more just and fair and maintain balance within yourself? And if you've freed yourself from being more shadowy, that's great. Yeah, I want to be in a relationship with you. You're not like me, right? Perfect. I don't even want to be in a relationship with someone like me, says the shadowy people. I like to be in relationships with people who have freed themselves from their more self-indulgent, being more about themselves nature. And sometimes shadowy people want to try to trap a more loving person who puts in work and effort to make things victorious and successful and stable and balanced and are loving and really do try to see things from other people's perspective. And they can defend friendships and relationships for a long time because they do actually emotionally invest themselves in people. And the shadowy people are like, that's great. I want to move forward in a relationship with you. And initially they could wear a false mask, creating the illusion that they're that type of person too. And then you move forward in a relationship with you. But in high vibe, the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, in high vibe, it's being illuminated to the truth. It's supposed to be just and fair, motivated and inspired by love. And so if it's a romantic relationship, it should be because of love. And as people go through a relationship where it's more mismatched, they kind of realize the other person's kind of defensive to love. They use their emotions manipulatively, their words manipulatively, their sexuality manipulatively, their resources manipulatively, anything they've got. Because they use all those things manipulatively because they operate more from their defensive egoic nature, unwilling to come out from behind their ego and invest in healing and growing and maturing themselves to do love. And that's when the high vibe people in their life are sad, when they kind of see through the illusion that they had of someone. And it's like, my dream can't come into reality here because our truth is different. The reason they want to be in the relationship is more to either just be in a relationship, to enjoy being in a relationship, the ego, the image, the status, or whatever, you know. But it's not really love, and they won't do love. And Gemini of the Lover's card talks about this dualistic free will that people have. And some people, they are made a choice at some point in time in their life, or always were that way, that more driven and motivated to be about themselves or these things of the world or what they indulge in. And not so, you know, again, to do love, you have to come out from behind your ego. You have to learn, you have to invest in yourself. You have to heal and grow and mature yourself. You have to get more balanced. You have to stand up to your more immature, egoic, shadowy nature. And some people, at some point in their life, decided, well, I'm not doing love. I get hurt doing love. I'll be in the relationship. And that's why some of those people, they can get out of a relationship and just go get in a different one because they weren't really emotionally invested in it anyway. It could have quacked like love, looked like love, but wasn't really motivated and inspired by love. So long as it's good for their ego and their image and their status, that would be a good thing to invest in. So long as the other people don't see through the illusion. But eventually they do. And then the shadowy people are hoping that because the loving people love them, and because we can all kind of be manipulated in our worldly nature, we want these things to work, and you could love them. But also just in our worldly nature, I'm at this job, I like these people, I like some of these people, I live in this town, I got married to this person, I'm in a relationship. You know, we'd all like the things that we invested in to work out the way we wanted. We don't want to have to go look for a different job, friendship, or relationship. And so people can stay in it for quite a long time. And there's different people in the world that are at these different stages of life with the different people they're in relationships with. Some people already went through this, got out of it, stood up for themselves. And though there could be people in their life, whether it's their adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, long-term friend, romantic interest, they kind of realized it was kind of mismatched, that it didn't really seem to be just and fair. And sometimes some people in Pisces and the Lover's card and the Knight of Cups and the Ten of Cups, you know, they can be very loving people. And they really wanted these relationships to work out. So again, they can be people who, from the Nine of Wands to the Seven of Wands, the difference is letting go of the Two of Wands. You know, the Two of Wands is I have a dream. The Three of Wands is I took action to bring a dream into reality. I communicated with someone. I spoke my truth. I started to invest in someone. And then it can be really hard to let go of that dream, and then we can feel stuck for quite a long time and kind of sad Nine of Wands can be kind of feeling wounded. The Seven of Wands feeling kind of defensive. And people can do that for a long time. And some people are just getting themselves with some people in their life, and hopefully we have other people in our life that do treat us in a more just and fair and balanced and loving and encouraging way. But again, if the one relationship is like a romantic relationship, well, friends and family have their place in our life, but they're not going to replace a romantic interest in our life. And it can be really hard to kind of in our free will kind of accept the truth that some people's truth is different, and it can be really hard to kind of in Sagittarius energy of the Nine of Wands about higher learning and education. It's just really hard to wrap our brain around it if you're someone motivated and inspired by love, because you think isn't everybody motivated and inspired by love? Even if people were hurt, and even if people were defensive, and even if people were more bossy or controlling, if they got in a relationship with people who are just and fair and who love them, wouldn't they choose love? But again, there's some people, either that's just not their truth, and I refuse, I will not. The kings can represent male or female, that some people, it can just represent they operate from their more egoic nature of, I create this illusion, maybe because of their own wounding and because of some unresolved issues in their life they haven't worked through. And so they just decided, nope, not anymore. From now on, if I get in a relationship, I'll enjoy it, I'll work together with them, but I am not emotionally investing in it. Because I've done that before, and it was really hard to get over it, get out of it, and move on. And I just don't want to go through that anymore. So the Five of Cups also is Scorpio energy, which in shadow is kind of being a little more superficial and shallow, using your emotions more manipulatively, or just being more emotionally shallow and superficial because you're more about yourself or these things you like to indulge in, or more being in it for these worldly reasons. High vibe Scorpio that other people tap into is they do want more deep, meaningful relationships. In Sagittarius, life is about learning lessons. Let's go on the adventure. Let's go on the roller coaster. I want to experience the highs and the lows. That's what makes life worth living. And the other people are like, nope, I want to ride on the merry-go-round. I'm not going to do the highs and the lows. I do not let myself do the highs and the lows. And that's when some people can't keep staying stuck and sad and defensive, and especially if people are being kind of worse than that, creating an illusion about who they are, but they try to manipulate people, control people, defensive to seeing the truth. If you've been enlightened to the truth and learned these lessons in life, you'd know to offer truth and love to the situations and listen, high vibe Pisces, to your intuition when you're dealing with other people. But some people are so disconnected from themselves because they do live so much from their mind. It's all trying to calculate and strategize, probably out of this defensiveness. And then that can make them maybe a little paranoid. Don't trust other people because other people hurt them. Well, that's kind of not listening to your intuition about the different people that you've dealt with. Like, no, this person hurt me before. Now all people, you're all off limits. Well, if we were to work through it, we would maybe see the truth about how some other people that we dealt with, oh, well, was that person more immature? Was that person more full of themselves? Was that person more bossy, controlling? Was that person more manipulative? Was that person more stubborn, more prideful? What about the other people you meet? Are they like that? Well, then, it's not apples and apples. That was an apple. These are oranges and pears. They're different, But because some people could be so defensive. And of course, there's some people in the world that have been wounded extremely badly, But again, if people don't tell us and they don't work through it, all we see is the actions they choose to take and how they react and how they treat other people. And if they're not willing to speak the truth, this is why I am defensive. This is why I act this way. But again, there too, people have to be willing to work through it and to see the truth that some of the new, you kind of got to believe in yourself that there are no guarantees. And you can be going down the path of life with people you would never think would act and behave in certain ways. But I think we can always be tempted in our shadow nature. And it can happen slowly and gradually over time. Did most people in the world plan to drive their life off into the ditch and kind of, no. But it can happen gradually over time. And then it's like, fuck, how'd I end up in the ditch? I don't even know how to get back up on the road again, And so there is no guarantees. But do you believe that you can? And that's where some other people have gone through these life experiences. And again, it's kind of like getting back up on the horse, getting back up on the bike. The people who've had more experience in their life. And some people, maybe they got hurt once or twice, even at a young age, just emotionally in a relationship where their heart got broken. And some people just at that, it's like, that's it, I'm done. Then we have the extreme of people who could have really went through some really painful, hurtful things, but it's the same result. And that's Scorpio talks about, we're these emotionally complex human beings, and everybody kind of has different fears and insecurities and defensiveness. Some people have a lot less. Some people are just, you know what? And they keep putting themselves out there, kind of not giving up on their dreams. They learn how to pick themselves back up and dust themselves back off and not let shadowy people in the world control their life. People can throw you under the bus, kick you to the curb, and it's like, oh shit, I did not expect that. Well, damn, I look at you completely differently than I did before. I thought you were this kind of person, but apparently you're not. And they were willing to see the truth of it. Some other people could have a harder time seeing the truth about themselves or other people in their life because some of those people are people that are in their family. Oh no, I'm sure they have my best interests. Like, do they? Or do they try to control and manipulate you? Do they want you to live your more authentic life, stand up for yourself, grow and heal and mature yourself? Or if they don't, do they not want you to? If they made their life more about getting in a relationship because it seemed to make practical, logical sense, but you want to do love, and then if you did love, well, then that would maybe kind of bother them because then it would make them think about how they live their life. And instead of them even having to deal with any of it, they just want to try to stop you so you don't go live your authentic life and go be happy. Because then they'll be sad that they didn't do that. And they're kind of defending something that's kind of more of an illusion that they could think of wanting to get out of that job, friendship, or relationship, but they're kind of more defensive of getting out of it. And if you would have never went and lived your authentic life and free, high vibe energies, being more independent, can be in relationships and marriages, but have grown and matured yourself to be in more just, fair, balanced, inspiring, loving relationships. And some other people aren't in those, so then they don't want you to be in those. And so you could know some people that have things within themselves that manipulate them, and you could know they have friends or family or other people in their life that manipulate them. They might not see it. They might stand up and defend those people. No, no, no. They have my best interests at heart. It's like, do they? And they can, just like you can have a hard time with people in your life, some of the people you would like to be more in friendship or relationship with, again, they're in friendships and relationships with people, and they could have a hard time seeing the truth about some of those people. You know, are you respecting each other as their own individuals that have their own things that they like to do? Like, you know, some people could like going fishing. It's like, well, you can't go fishing if I don't go fishing with you. Or I think you should only go fishing once a month. I know you like to go every weekend, but I don't like you doing that because I don't like you being away from me. Or I know you like to go do this with whatever activity it could be with those people. I don't like you doing that much or that often. You know, things should be reasonable. You know, we do have to work together cooperatively with people. But do some people kind of think it should be a little bit more about them and, you know, want you to be more codependent on them and you are not able to really invest in some of the things you would like to do? Um, the Nine of Pentacles here can talk about knowing your worth and value and standing kind of up for yourself in from a place of love, because high vibe Virgo is about truth and love. That it's two like high vibe people and you come together in a relationship, and the center part is where you're working with that person for this common dream that you both want. But the rest of it, like the outer stuff, that's just my stuff. You know, I have my own things, my own TV shows, my own when I want to go for a walk, when I don't want to go for a walk, my own leisure activity, things that I could like to do that other people might not like to do, but I don't like everything you like to do. So go ahead and go do some of those things that you want to go do with someone else. And other people really don't like that, you know, and some people, if they're more, Aries energy is about the self. So if some people have concluded, I think it's just and fair to be more about me, and they are kind of caught up in this illusion that it should just be more about them, well, then, you know, they think that's just and fair and looking to find other people who will also think that's just and fair, and that's how they want to move forward. Kind of defensive of doing more equal give and take, defensive of seeing the truth. Some of them don't even care if the other people in their life feel stuck, wounded, and sad. Oh well. You know, all types of people in the world. But everybody has their idea of the dream life. Some people want to be single, want to be in relationships, don't want to get into more formal commitment, don't want to get married. Just like some people, their idea of the dream life in a career, say, because the pentacles can talk about that. You know, different strokes for different folks. We can know some people that we've worked with. Other people are kind of more motivated and inspired, like, yep, let me learn this, and yep, I'm kind of ready to learn that. Oh, you know, and they know that maybe some things like, oh, no, I guess that really isn't my thing, or oh, I'm not very good at that. Other things, they overcome it and they kind of keep learning new things. And other people, you know, I'm happy doing this. And you just kind of know, you'd kind of think, gee, they know this inside out, backwards, forwards. They really could do some of these other things and maybe even get paid more, but they're like, you know, could just be defensive of kind of loving and believing in themselves, you know. And if that works out for people like in a workplace, it's like, no, they're going to be in that job forever. And kind of sucks if that was an entry level position, but people can work with them, work alongside of them 2 weeks, kind of learn the lay of the land, or a month, and then they could start learning the next position. But, you know, we got to work with people kind of where they're at. And sometimes the thing is, we do get in some relationships with some people that could try to present themselves just like people at a job can try to present themselves as having more work experience and education and can do that job. And then we get in a relationship and we kind of realize, I don't think you do, or you could have worked there and you could have went to school for that, but there seems to be a problem with some practical application. You know, and just like that can happen in a job, it can happen in a relationship. And, that's when some people start to think, you know, kind of from the Nine of Pentacles down to the Six of Pentacles is the Three of Pentacles that I kind of think in their Three of Pentacles foundation of how they operate is kind of different than the foundation that I could operate from. And again, feeling like some people want you to keep staying in relationship with them, but they kind of have these illusions or something, and it's like, I think I've kind of seen the truth that this isn't working. And though I might be sad, and there's kind of a part of me that's kind of defensive, is again, I'd like this to work out the way I wanted it to work out, but it's not. So I have to stand up for my truth. And the dream doesn't seem to be coming into reality. And maybe a lot more people are having to carry the load or will have to carry the load because the other people, again, shadowy energy can be more like, I want reward without effort. I want to be in a relationship with loving people, but I don't want to authentically be loving. I want to be in a relationship and have the status and the image, but I might be a little bit more about myself. How about you put in the work and effort to have it be more balanced and loving and encouraging and all that, and I get to kind of coast or something, right? And some people, we get in these relationships with people to help us get more clear about our truth. And some people could have thought, no, I think I'm more motivated and inspired by love, and I think I'm ready. And then they get in relationships with people who are like that, and then it's like, uh, you have to be willing to take responsibility for yourself. Get out of more codependent energy. I'm responsible. Is it nice to have loving and encouraging and supportive people in my life? Yeah, but so much of what impacts the action that we take is the shit that goes on in our own head. And we have to learn how to kind of, Sagittarius is also represented by the Temperance card. And Leo can be about tempering our fears, our insecurity, our ego, getting up in our head. We got to take responsibility within ourselves. And if we're having a hard time with it, we communicate with the people in our life. And some people with Sagittarius being about higher learning and education, some people haven't learned those lessons. And some people are hiding some truths that they might not want to deal with. And because some people keep not dealing with some things, they could keep repeating a pattern where things don't work out. And again, if they try to get in relationships with people who are more loving, but they don't really want to do love, well, odds are those relationships aren't going to work out. But they could not want to keep seeing the truth because, well, I think this is just and fair. This is the way I view life. And if I seem single or abundant in some way, or my attractiveness or whatever, I think loving people should want to be in a relationship with me. I have these things of the world. Well, eventually, the high vibe people in their life, either they have their own stability and security in the world, or they're willing to sacrifice some of those things because the most important thing is love and truth and justice and fairness. And those things to them are more valuable than those things of the world. And some of the shadowy people cannot understand that. Just like high vibe people can have a problem understanding people who are more immature, manipulative, play all these mind games, all this defensiveness, all this strategic stuff, all this defensiveness. Doesn't that sound exhausting? But that's, for some reason, their viewpoint in life and how they live life. And they don't understand why other people, how you live your life the way you live your life. You could think they live in fantasy land. Like, if you think this is going to work and that you're going to end up with what other people have who do grow and mature themselves and act more just and fair and are more tempered in their ego and more balanced and willing to look at life from some other perspectives, I think you live in fantasy land. They, in turn, could think the loving people, you live in fantasy land. You got to learn how this game of life is played. Because they could think they have their way of viewing life. They think you're the one-off weird person. People think like this. Why would they think like that if that didn't make logical, practical sense? So when other people look at life differently than them, they don't get it. You know, I do not understand these people's philosophy of life. And why aren't they making their life more about conforming to the world, like in shadowy Taurus? I don't even understand how these people think. Don't these people want to be in a relationship? Well, they should get in a relationship then. Love. How dumb. You know, it's just these completely different ways of looking at life. So, I think the shadowy people, they have their way of living life. They have this way of living life that they like, that they are sure their dreams are going to come into reality. And if it's them indulging themselves, being single, not getting in a more formal commitment, well, they think they are living the dream life. As they keep doing that in their life, you know, people who could know them could become, more people in the world could become more defensive. And people could get to know them. But if they kind of talk to them about those things, and if those people tell the truth, well then, which I think you should, but, you know, some people might be, I do want to be in a relationship with someone who's more willing to make a formal commitment. I don't want to just waste my time indulging people in a relationship, especially if people are at that age where they want to get married and have children. You know, usually in the lover's card, there's children in the card too. You know, how can my dream come into reality if you don't, you know, go find someone else who wants to live their life like that. Teach your own. But again, you know, they can want to be in relationships for the ego or the image or the status, because some people think being in a relationship says something about their worth and value. High vibe people don't want to get in a relationship because just for those reasons, because they think they have worth and value without being in a relationship. And, you know, I want to be free and available if I meet someone who seems to be the right person for me to get in a relationship so I can go get in a relationship with them. Some of the shadowy people get in a relationship to indulge themselves in it, but that's why they're defensive to getting in a more formal commitment, because they're kind of keeping their options open. Well, who else is there? And again, shadowy Scorpio, you know, they could be more superficial and shallow. It is more for all these other reasons. Well, what do those people have? How much money do they have? How much social clout? Are they more fearful and insecure and they'd indulge me more than the people I'm currently in a relationship with? You know? So, you know, the stories and the tarot readings, the reason they're so long is trying to describe the shadowy people, because it's such a spectrum of things that it could be. But the people who are shadowy are probably still defending their more worldly philosophy of life. They're sad and they're in their ego that other people weren't willing to indulge them in their more worldly view of life. They know that some of those people are just and fair and loving people, and that those people are in their friendships and relationships, and then that in turn kind of gets them in their ego, and then they go get in a relationship, maybe more out of ego reasons. Could be a little sad. It was nice to be in those relationships with people who are more just and fair and loving, but they were kind of stubborn. Didn't, you know, it's like shadowy people have loving and encouraging people in their life, and they just think those people are going to keep doing that like forever. Well, those people were doing it because they liked them and they loved them. They were hoping they eventually kind of would kind of get out of more of their defensiveness, work through some of their past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities, and become enlightened to the truth. But when they keep not being that, the other people realize, kind of like, I wish you peace, but I'm going to stay here and let you move on like that with the way you are. And then I'm going to be kind of wounded and defensive, but I have my truth, you have your truth, and I'm going to move forward in my truth, but I am going to work through the regrets of it and the ego of it, and I'm going to accept the truth of it, that everybody in their free will has the free will to come out from behind their ego, come out through their defensiveness, grow up and mature themselves, temper their ego, work more cooperatively with people, be willing to be more just or fair or authentic and loving, and you don't choose to do that. And I can accept the truth of it. Everybody's where they're at. And if that makes you feel more stable or grounded or makes you feel like you're living the dream life, then I wish you peace. You can go do that. And I'm going to move forward. And as I move forward and love and believe in myself and keep things in perspective and look at life from the big picture and don't give up on myself or give up on my dreams, realizing my dream can come into reality with you anyway. I need to be in a relationship with other people who've kind of learned some of these same lessons as me, who also have went through some of these experiences and like me might be a little defensive, but are open because they know that everybody's not the same and they've seen the truth about different people they've worked with, willing to get to know people and realize not everyone is the same. And then to work through those regrets of the past, and maybe when we were kind of more defensive with some people that we meet in our life or whatever, and realize that this is someone I can move forward with, because I think the truth is they are more inspired by love and they look at life differently than some of the other people I've been in relationship with. And some of you are doing that, and it's just that we're in the course of a relationships. You know, it's always to help each other work through, even if it's friends and family, to work through regrets of the past and be loving and encouraging and just and fair. Treat them the way you like to be treated and realize everybody has to make that free will decision themselves and accept people's free will decisions. The high vibe people keep moving forward no matter what. I'm not going, I can accept, just like I've been at different stages of life where other people in my life wanted me to heal or grow or mature myself or quit repeating patterns. And I was like, no way, man, I'm having a great time doing this. And those people moved on, or they were older than me or my parents or whoever, you know? And it's just the way of life. And then we kind of grow up and mature ourselves. Then we might tell some people in our life, I want to move forward differently. And they're like, no way, man, I'm having a great time doing this. We should do this. It's like, nope, I'm not going to keep doing that. And, you move forward. Learning these lessons. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aries energy? The shadowy people are trying to figure out if the people they're in a relationship with know their worth and value. They could see them kind of moving forward in life a little differently. They pay attention. It's kind of like they use their intuition in a shadowy way. Who seems to be healing and growing and maturing themselves and loving themselves? I might have to get out of a relationship with this person, or I might have to do something hurtful and unkind in order to try to manipulate them. Because shadowy people don't want other people to heal and grow and mature themselves so much that they love and believe in themselves, because that's when you kind of are ready to give birth to the next version of yourself. Like you shed being a 25-year-old to be more like a 30-year-old. And the shadowy people want to keep doing things the way they've been doing it. And some of the high vibe people could be seeing the truth of it, and they're standing up for themselves. It's like, no, you can do what you want to do. You can act the way you want to act. I'm going to conduct myself in a way that I can be proud of. And it kind of illuminates, the more I stand in my truth and kind of like not take the bait, not play the game, the more I see through the illusion and see the manipulation more clearly. And then that could kind of make them sad, but now they've been illuminated to the truth. And then it's to work through the process of seeing that maybe they should move away from those people and focus more of their attention on the people in their life who aren't trying to manipulate them or hurt them or get them in their ego. Loving people who love you don't want you sad. They don't want you feeling defensive. They don't want you feeling stuck. Shadowy people do. Hoping you won't love and believe in yourself enough to stand up for yourself. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aries energy that they might not see coming? Two cards not showing themselves, and the reason is because of the Seven of Swords. Well, in high vibe, the Seven of Swords is about the 5, the 6, and the 7 are all Aquarius energy. I am inspired. I have a dream. And they're holding on to their dream. Shadowy people in your own shadow nature want you to not listen to your intuition and have this mental conflict and make your life more about yourself, these other people, or the world, or things you indulge in. But the high vibe people are listening to their intuition. Here we have the Six of Swords. Here we have the next sword, which gets us to the Seven of Swords. Still maybe working through some mental conflict here, an inner conflict, but listening to your intuition. Who are the people in my life who tempt me more in my codependent nature, my more immature nature, my hurt nature, my prideful nature, my lust, my greed? And who are the people in my life who are, I think, being loving and truthful and encouraging, who are inspired, kind of maybe in less codependent energy, are more independent? High vibe Aries is listening to their intuition about that. And as they do that and work through their own mental conflict, is what the Seven of Swords can talk about, they're working through these two cards, seeing how when they harness these energies in a more worldly way, they repeat old patterns instead of standing up for themselves, seeing the truth. Who is offering me truth and love? Who is trying to maybe emotionally manipulate me? And eventually, some people will work through it and realize when I harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, I get in relationships with other people who are happy I do. So I need to work through detaching from aligning with these in a more worldly, shadowy way and harness them in a more high vibe way. And some people, that will be the end conclusion. And that's what some people you've known, people you meet, some people don't realize and won't know until they get to know you better that you don't have this more worldly view of life. The Knight of Cups and the Ten of Cups, two Pisces cards. There were some people at one time in your family, long-term friend, people that you thought you were going to have a long-term relationship with, but they wanted you to be more about these things of the world, live more from your mind than your heart. And you worked through that. And now you're more invested in being independent and believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And as you move forward in life and you meet people, there's always going to be these mix of people in the world. Some high vibe, some more worldly, some more shadowy. And until people get to know you, and some people do get to know you, and as you're moving forward, and you're like just and fair and loving and encouraging, some of those people are like, oh no, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I like a more transactional relationship. I don't want to do love. I'm defensive to love. So, if you're wondering why some people, whether it's even just being friends, some people like a more transactional relationship, which can be kind of a little more hierarchical. Like, I don't think you have anything to add to my status or my image. I don't think you fit in with my friends. You don't wear this, you don't act like that. High vibe people are willing to get to know people of all stratas and whatever because they're just looking for authentic people in the world. Doesn't mean I gotta be your best friend or date you, but you know, can you be a nice, kind person, but you just live very different lives? Yeah. But some people it's like, eh, again, it's like, well, what can you do for me? How would it benefit me? I don't think you have enough of whatever, or I think you're in a different category. And out of my own lack of self confidence, I'm intimidated. And, but that's our own issue to work through. And other people could get to know you and think, wow, that would be someone who I think I would like to be in a relationship, but are they already in a relationship? Would they kind of like to get out of a friendship that they're in? Would those people be mad if they kind of started to hang out with someone else a little bit? They got to work through their own stuff. You're just listening to your own intuition. I'm going to offer people to work together with people in a just and fair, authentic way, treat people the way I like to be treated, and I keep moving on, and then it's up for them to decide what their truth is. Some people come with, some people be defensive. Okay. I'm not going to get up in my head about it. I'm going to keep focused on my truth and continue, the people who are a little more shadowy, more deceptive, more whatever, probably won't invest much time, energy, and effort into them if I don't have to. What's coming up for people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Aries energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Cups, the Karma card or the Judgment card, the Six of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, the Three of Swords, the Ten of Swords, the World, and the reason it came out is because of the Page of Cups. So, with the people in their life where they harness their water sign energy differently, the more worldly, shadowy people that could be more in their Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, I'm emotionally more about me or these things of the world. And the people in their life that harness their water sign energy differently, more hopeful and believing in love, those people bought into the illusion of who they are in the Seven of Cups of Scorpio energy, but they thought there'd be more equal give and take from love and more equal give and take and justice and fairness. But that keeps not happening with the Ten of Swords to the world. The world's about learning lessons. And so eventually those people wish them peace and love and move on. And the shadowy people will probably not want to see the truth of it. And they'll have other people come into their life and ultimately probably end up the same pattern will repeat with more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, loving people. And the people they could be surrounded more by could be other people who might be more codependent, other people who might be defensive or fearful of loving or believing in themselves. And they could move forward in a relationship with those people, thinking it's just and fair to live more from their mind than their heart. And everybody has the free will to manifest what they want to manifest. Okay, my battery's going dead, so I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.